What is going on, FA Nation? Justin Fensterman here, and with the 2022 fantasy baseball season underway, each week we're going to cover some trendy players trending up and down based off fantasy baseball production and opportunity on their teams. It's the weekly Fantasy Baseball Stock Watch Report, and it starts with these players, 3 up, 3 down. Let's get cooking. It's very young in the 2022 season, but still we gotta get on these trends before our league mates do so we can defeat them in our fantasy baseball leagues. Let's get down to business. First, let's go with a few players trending up. Byron Buxton. Buxton has been batting leadoff for the Twins, and he leads the league in home runs with 3 through 4 games, and he's hitting .333. He's recorded hits in each of his last 3 contests, and he's even stolen a base. Health has frequently worked against Buxton throughout his career, but when healthy, he's shown the ability to produce. He hit .306 in 62 games last season, and he recorded hits in 14 of the final 15 games he played in. Looking ahead at Minnesota's schedule, Buxton faces the Dodgers, who have allowed 15 runs scored on them in 3 games, and then he faces Boston, who has started off the year struggling as well. Speaking of Boston, let's go to Jake Diekman. We've seen Diekman appear twice thus far, and he's recorded both a hold and a save, and he hasn't let up any runs. He just struck out the side against the heart of the order of the Yankees lineup. It was very encouraging seeing Diekman still get to work the 9th inning against the Yankees on Sunday, even with Matt Barnes back in the mix. Could the closer job ultimately be Barnes' to lose? Yes. But we can't ignore what Diekman has done, and if Barnes starts to get shelled early on, Diekman can find himself in line to return to the 9th inning. But if he's worked out thus far, why should the Red Sox mess with their bullpen? He's got the Tigers up next, who have scored the 3rd fewest amount of runs in the AL, and then Minnesota. Final riser, Connor Joe. Joe has hit the ball in 3 of 4 games this year, and he's went yard at both the Ultimate Hitters Park Coors Field, his home field, and then once on the road in Texas. He's scored runs in every game he's played in thus far, and he's even stolen a base. We've seen the Rockies bat Joe leadoff for a few games, which should put him in line to steal a decent amount of bases, and then 6th for a couple of games as well. After his next game in Texas, Joe returns home for a series against the staunch Cubs pitchers, who have allowed the fewest amount of runs in the NL in the early going of the season, but at least he's at Coors Field for that series and the following one against Philadelphia. He's also still pretty available on waivers as well, and you could ride him while he's hot. Now for a few players trending down. Let's start with Dansby Swanson. Swanson leads the league in striking out as he's recorded 10 thus far and has been hitting a miserable .125 to start the year. Swanson has played 5 games and simply has a single run to show for it. He's hitting towards the bottom of the Braves lineup. It's actually hard to determine who has had the more miserable start in the Braves lineup between Swanson and Eddie Rosario. He's sitting there with a .188 slugging percentage, and he's hit the ball twice this season. After Swanson's next couple of games versus the Nationals, he has a challenging series against the Padres at Petco Park. So if Swanson is going to get something going, he must strike in his next couple of games. But he's barely been able to get on base. He hit 27 homers last season and drove in 88 RBIs. And towards the end of draft season, we saw him get drafted as a top 90 player in some of the high-stakes leagues. Next player trending down, Emmanuel Clase. Clase has been far from impressive in the 2 appearances we've seen him in, as he's led up the game-winning run against the Royals over the weekend in the 10th inning, not even recording an out in that one. And then he follows that up by appearing in Monday's game with a 5-run lead, and Andrew Benintendi takes him deep, and Clase surrenders 2 runs. He allowed up multiple runs before recording a single out this season. He has an ERA of 18, and yes, it's still early, and he can absolutely settle down. We saw Clase surrender 1 earned run in 13 games in September and October to end his season last year, and he was drafted as a late 4th, early 5th round pick in 15 teams this year. Final player trending down, Alex Kirilloff. The Twins have been experimenting by hitting Kirilloff in different spots in the lineup, most recently getting his first and only hit of the season, hitting 9th on Monday. He struck out 7 times in 4 games and hasn't walked yet, and we didn't see him walk much last year in 59 games. He's coming off of season-ending wrist surgery, and it may take him a bit to get his groove back at the dish. Kirilloff did hit .251 before bowing out of the season last year. Kirilloff was being drafted in the 13th round towards the end of draft season, and he's barely produced thus far, and it wouldn't be surprising to see Minnesota continue hitting him towards the bottom of the lineup until he figures things out. And that is the first Fantasy Baseball Stock Watch, FA Nation. Keep it locked in because we're just getting things going here. We are going to help you all season long. Got a lot of content to cover and a lot of players to spotlight. Don't get too impatient, though. It's only been a few games, but here's the start. When it comes to the players that are trending right now, we've got you covered on fantasyalarm.com. Good luck, and let's win.